Welcome back to the Principles of Economics. Today we're going to be covering the central idea of economics, which is choice, scarcity, and interaction. It's a description of how people behave, which is very powerful in terms of the subject of economics. In fact, I like to think of it as the mantra of economics, and that is people make choices with scarce resources, and then they interact with other people in markets and other places when they make these choices. The idea of making choice with scarcity gives rise to the concept of opportunity cost. When you decide to take a course in economics instead of a course in biology, the opportunity cost is what you've lost by not taking that course in biology. Formerly thinking, we like to think of opportunity cost as the value of that next best foregone alternative, which would have been the biology course that wasn't chosen because you did something else, in this case, take the economics course. I have a great example of opportunity cost from my own teaching over the years. One year, teaching at Stanford University, a student in my class was named Tiger Woods. He was a sophomore. And he learned about opportunity cost so well that he dropped out of Stanford and joined the Pro Golf Tour, recognizing how significant the opportunity cost of going to college was. But there's many other examples of things like, should I go to college? Should I not go to college? Should I take a course? Should I not take a course? Should I take this job or not that job? This is a picture which involves an enormous number of opportunity costs made. It's a picture of President Obama with a lot of entrepreneurs and CEOs in the Silicon Valley area. You see Mark Zuckerberg sitting next to Barack Obama and Steve Jobs next to Barack Obama. Both of those people, those entrepreneurs, Mark and Steve, they decided not to go to college or drop out of college to start businesses. That was an opportunity cost they saw was too great. Across is Larry Ellison, a founder of Oracle. He also dropped out of college to work in business. But there's many other people around that table who made a different choice. Some, like Eric Schmidt, who runs Google, he not only went to college, he went to graduate school. Or Carol Bartz at the end of the table, who ran Yahoo for a number of years. She went to college, worked as a cocktail waitress to pay for her tuition. So there's a wide variety of choices, even here for many successful people. In this case, cheering, I believe, that we have a better economy. So opportunity costs are really central for making decisions, and they're a very important part of economics. The other part of the mantra is interacting in markets. And that really has to do with trading, transactions of goods and services with other people. And consumers do that, producers do that. It's an enormous benefit, gain that we call it. And you can see it in everyday life. You suppose Andrew has tickets to a football game and Olivia has tickets to the championship basketball game or a soccer game, or whatever it is. And they each have 2 tickets, but they'd like to go to both games. Well, they can just trade a football ticket for a basketball ticket, and they'll be in much better shape. Actually, every day you see this kind of thing happening. In fact, I have an example right here in the class of Thomas and Tilke about a gain from trade that they have. Tilke has 2 hats. They both say I love economics or I love economists, their favorite hats. And Thomas has 2 pairs of sunglasses. They're very beautiful sunglasses, but it's going to be a very sunny day today. And while it's possible for Tilke to wear 2 hats, and it's possible for Thomas to wear 2 pairs of sunglasses, they could be better off if they did a little trade. And so maybe there could be a trade of sunglasses for hats, where Tilke gets a pair of sunglasses to go with her hat, and Thomas gets a hat to go with his sunglasses, and they've made numerous gains from trade, and they're ready to go out and enjoy themselves on this nice day. Thank you very much. So as you can see, there's just many, many examples of trade between people, and they're benefiting from that and gaining from it. We're going to see in this course how there's gains to countries from trading. There's gains much more involved and complicated than these simple little examples. But there's also gains that can be made from producers exchanging information, exchanging ideas, exchanging technologies. For example, we saw Google in the CEO of Google, Eric Schmidt, in the previous slide, and also in that picture with John Chambers, the CEO of Cisco. They were both involved in the computer business, but quite different. Google mainly involved with software, and Cisco mainly involved with hardware, with the switches and the cables, that the backbone of the internet. they've felt, as many firms do, that specializing to some extent is a great benefit. And so rather than they both do things, rather than Google both does hardware and software, and rather than Cisco does both hardware and software, they split it up and they divide that. And they could sell the products. Obviously, Cisco can buy Google services, and Google indeed buys Cisco services. So they exchange, they trade, and they produce more as a result. More goods and services are produced as a result of that. So these kinds of gains, economists have names for them. It involves some specialization. In this particular example, you see Google specializing in the software, Cisco specializing in the hardware. That specialization gives rise to this division of labor, the division meaning some people do what they're good at, whether it's software engineering or whether it's acting or whatever happens to be their comparative advantage, and other people specialize in other things. And that very term, comparative advantage, is also important. In economics, we find that if people do and practice and work in their comparative advantage, the thing they're relatively good at, they will get more production as a result. And while examples like Google and Cisco, where you think of Google being better at software across the board and Cisco being better at hardware across the board, we're going to see examples in this course where the same person can be better at two things than another person, but they're relatively good at another thing, and it's still an enormous gain from trade because of this comparative advantage. So these ideas, like specialization and division of labor, go back hundreds of years in the history of economic thought, were written about by Adam Smith in the famous book, The Wealth of Nations. All these ideas about gaining from trade and the benefits of trade give rise to questions about the best role for government. If you like to think about it, we've emphasized that there are these gains from trade and the freedom to trade, the freedom to buy and sell and exchange and do this kind of job and that kind of job. There are gains to that. And what we want to be sure in a market economy, that the role of government in making this come about in the best way is there. And I like to think of roughly 5 things that consist of this role of government. One is that the policy framework that government is involved in, the rules, the regulations are predictable, so you know what's really going on. The second is that we emphasize the rule of law. Say it's private property. And that is when the trade is made, say, with the hats and the sunglasses, it's pretty clear who had the hats and who had the sunglasses in the first place, so nobody can dispute later, hey, that was not my hat. So property rights are very important for this. And we've emphasized, and we will emphasize, that many of these gains are best in a market economy. And the market economy provides the opportunity for people to make these trades. And the prices are determined in the market as well. The price for hats, the price for sunglasses, the price for tickets to the championship games, the price of Google software or Cisco hardware. Those are determined in the market, and it works generally pretty well. And I think the advantage in the way it really works well is it provides the right incentives for people. If price is too high, people won't do it. If wages are higher, then people will do that. So it provides incentives, the market system itself. Not everything always works perfectly, so there is certainly a role for government in addition to making sure these other principles take place. And sometimes, for example, the markets don't work very well. We call that market failure. There may be a reason where these gains from trade get thwarted because of monopolies or other restrictions that occur naturally in the market. So this market failure provides a role for government. And that's really the 5th thing to think about here when you're thinking about these gains from trade. But in addition, when you think about the role of government, sometimes you realize that government doesn't always do the right thing as well. So there's a possibility for government failure too. So when you think about this idea of choice, scarcity, interaction in markets, and the gains from all that, you see that there's a real question in economics. And one of the reasons economics exists as a field is to try to find out what should the role of government be in encouraging and this very good beneficial activity. Thank you. I'll see you next time.